Paul, you know, every time I see you, you've got a beer in your hands. What do you expect me to think?
Not today.
Look, listen, boys. Whatever it is, I have a glass of wine here in case you two start getting on my nerves. I'm going to have to cut the show. But anyway, we're here. We're live. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We've got Patrick Wallace and we've got Barry Pinches. For some of you, very few of you who are not old enough to remember them, or you know anything about them, Barry is currently on the tour. Patrick was on the tour, and I'm going to talk a little bit about both these lovely boys first. Patrick, you know, like myself, you know, 50-year-old, good-looking 50-year-old man. You know, sorry, Barry, some of us aren't so lucky. You know, but anyway, yeah, you know, but don't look our ages, but that's okay. You know, it'll carry on that way for a long time. Pat, you started off a pretty decent amateur career, and that sort of extended itself. You turned pro, I think, in '94. You had a 17-year career, professional career, and you got 34 in the world. 34 in the world. You know, pretty much respected. Could have done a lot better. You know, we could have done a lot better. But you seem to, you know, it's like you and Barry are very similar in a lot of ways, in that you know, it took you a bit of time maybe to get started, to climb up the rankings and what have you, but it is sort of kind of similar, you know. Yeah. 2001, you came to life, did very well. You got the quarterfinal of the Worlds. Yeah,
my career.
Very good. You know, I'm not going to dig too much into that. I'm going to go back to that, actually. You know, I'm going to touch on that again. But I'm just going to go over to Barry there and touch on Barry a wee second. But we'll come back to you in a wee second about the 2001 quarterfinals, you know. Barry, what can I say about you? Very similar stature. He's gone. He's going off the screen. Where are you? Barry, where's he gone? Are you there? Have we froze? He's back on again. Boz, can you hear me all right? Are you there, Barry? Dodgy computer. We'll try and get Barry back in a wee second. As soon as he comes back, then we'll torture him for a bit. Anyway, Patrick, let's go back to you. 2001. Okay. I suppose good memories and bad memories about it, because you did well to get to the quarterfinals of the World Championships, you know. But you came up against, obviously, you know, you came up against Joe Swail, and I think Barry's just coming back in there now again, you know. Hang on.
Pros.
Praise, okay. Stop messing around there. See when old men start messing around with computers, it goes very, very wrong. Anyway, don't worry about that. We're just talking to Patrick there about getting to the quarterfinal of the World Championship in 2001. You know, it's probably
fantastic.
A little bit hurtful there, Pat, because, you know, you came up against Joe Swail.
Yeah.
And I think you were 6-2 and 7-4 in front of him.
Sounds about right.
And you lost that match 13-11.
I've tried to block all those memories out, Dave. Thanks very much.
You know, we're going to come. Yeah, no, we're going to come back to that a wee minute. But now that Barry's back on, we'll sort of touch on you a wee bit, Baz, for a second. You know, very similar stature here to Pat. You know, you good amateur record to begin with, and then you hit the tour. You know, I think you hit the tour in late 80s, 88, 89. I think you hit the tour, and you've had a 30-year career. 89, yeah, and it took you a while to get the juices going as well. You know, I think the pair of you sort of improved very gradually, and you know, Pat, I think you came off the tour and got on. Yeah. Came off 2 or 3 times. You know, Barry, you had a similar situation, as much as your career was a bit longer, and that to that extent, you know. But you know, interesting thing about you, Barry, is you know you had a couple of really strong seasons, sort of like threw you right into the rankings as well. In fact, got you as far as the top 32. I think you were provisionally ranked 14 at one point, actually, in all fairness, you know, but that was a tough sort of time. You know, you did about £500,000 You know, that's probably enough to buy you a wee house in Norwich. You know, but that's all right too.
A couple.
Right, so anyway.
Might buy a flat.
Go back to you, now, Pat. Fortunately, we're going to have to touch on this quarter final against Joe Swill.
Okay.
Let's talk about it a wee bit. What are your memories of it?
It was an incredible situation to be in, because Joe and I first played in the juniors in Northern Ireland in about '86, and we hit it off straight away. He beat me as usual, and not too far away from your home place, Queen's Hall in Newton Ards, and he beat me, and we hit it off straight away and became good friends and practice partners. And 15 years later, we were playing in the quarters of the world, and we'd never even played for a fiver in practice. And we were playing for 36 grand in the quarters of the world. And it was just quite surreal to try and get your head around it. I tried to block all that out, and that I was playing my mate, and just didn't play well in the second session when I was 6-2 up. Lost the second session 7. Was in the final session, finished up 4 each, and that was good enough to get Joe 13-11 to the line. So just one bad session cost me, really, but my overall attitude towards that World Championship is I got the one quarter final in 16 years as a pro, so I feel very, very fortunate that the one quarter final was the World Championship.
But it must have hurt. It must have hurt Bob. Like, I mean, got so far, and then you came up against Joe, and you were so far in front early on. 6-2 lead.
Yeah, that hurt a lot. You know, been in control of the match, and obviously, if I had shared the sessions from there, I was going to win. It was going to put me into the top 32, which I never managed, and it was going to put me provisionally 17. So, looking back at my pro career, that was the point in my career where I missed the opportunity to really take a giant step forward.
All right. Sort of looking back at your looking back at your career, I mean, it took you a wee bit of time to get rolling as well. Was there a point in your career where you thought maybe you were just really going to do something? Was there any particular year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I should have done that. Well, I definitely should have done better when I first turned pro, but I was in a bad. I kind of won the English amateur, and then I had over a year to wait to turn pro, and that was, I started messing about with cue actions and stuff, and that really threw me. And by the time I turned pro, I wasn't playing very well, and I never really recovered from that for about 5, 6, probably longer than that, 7 years. And that was a tough time for me, because I definitely should have done a lot better. But then I had a few good years from the age of about 30 to about 35, and then slipped a bit again. But that's been always my Achilles heel, has been messing about with cue actions, to be honest with you. So I probably could have done better, no doubt. But it is what it is, and we're still pitching, and I've been lucky to be a pro all these years. I did drop off the turf for 3 or 4 years. I think the last 3 years I missed, and then I had a year off in the late 90s, I think. But yeah, I mean, I like looking back when I turned pro, I definitely probably was one of the ones people thought was going to do really well, and I never did. But there you go. That's
underachieved.
But like I say, I think looking back to my amateur career, I did very well, but I had a really poor cue action, actually. Really poor. Yeah, really poor cue action to be. When I look back to when I was 15, 16, 17, but I got away with it, but couldn't get away with it as a pro, so, but there we go.
So obviously you guys know each other.
You still hear me?
You've known each other because you're similar, obviously, on the tour. So when did you guys first meet, and have you ever played each other?
Unfortunately, we've played each other too many times for my liking, because I've only won.
Yeah, what is it? Have you won one, Pat? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what a head-to-head is. I couldn't say. honestly.
1-4, and that was on the seniors tour, but I'm still counting.
Yeah, of course, definitely. But I think we met at the internationals, didn't we?
Junior Home Internationals, Hemsby.
We met at the internationals in Hemsby. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
87. That's right. I remember that because it was we spoke about it on Facebook. It was you, Joe Swale. Was it Jason Prince?
Jason Prince.
Was he in the team?
The late great Barry McNamee. Yeah.
Jason Prince.
Good team we had. You guys had a great team too. Yourself, Nick.
That's right, Barry McNamee, who was a good friend of mine as well.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. That's correct. Yeah, and I think the Welsh won it that year. I think it was Paul Davies, Anthony Davies.
Yeah, they had a fantastic.
Oh, the other was Paul Dawkins in their side.
That's right.
Yeah, they did have a good team. Yeah, they did have a good team.
Davies,
yeah, but that was a long time ago. 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 plus years ago. Mm.
It's amazing that we're still
actually that holiday camp isn't there anymore. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm having the same problem.
Your stream's a wee bit better now, boss. Your stream is, I think myself and Pat are all right, but I don't think that computer likes you very much. Oh, that computer's got good taste, by the way.
I don't know what it is. I've got like the best broadband, like the Virgin top broadband. I don't know.
Well, we can hear you all right. As long as we can hear you, that's fine. You know, that's the important thing. Now, looking back going back over your careers there, have the both of you had coaches your whole careers, like help you along? Start with you, Pat.
I first got a coach when I was in my early 20s. A Belfast man called Tom McCann coached quite a lot of the players around Northern Ireland, and he was my coach for about 5 years, and I improved under him, but I didn't improve enough in my eyes to make strides in the pro game. So I approached Terry Griffiths in '97, and he was absolutely fantastic, brilliant. He coached me for about 12 to 15 years, and in that time he never took a penny off me, not one penny. So I can't thank him enough. When I went to him, I was about 150 in the world, and within 4 years, I was 34, and I was in the quarters of the World Championship. So that was down to his brilliant coaching and me putting the work in.
Were you under Griffiths Terry at one point?
Yeah.
That's one of the questions. Actually, I've just spotted. This is actually one of the questions from Mark Fenton. He's asking, he said you did well under Griffiths. What he wants to know is, what did he give you? What did he give you to push you?
Well, I was just saying there, he was my coach for about 12 to 15 years, and he was a massive help to me. I went to him and he asked me, what do you want? And I said, I want to change a few things technically because I don't think I'm good enough. And he said, I agree with you, plus you need to do this and that. So he changed my technique, but the part of the game that he helped me with the most was the mental side.
Yeah.
Because I was stupidly focusing on how I was playing when I was playing matches, losing sight of what you're there to do, which is win. And he got me focused on winning. And even when I was struggling then, I really wanted to win, as opposed to if I was struggling, I just wanted to get out of there because I was fed up. So technically and mentally, but more so mentally, he made a huge difference to me.
Very, very interesting point there, actually, Pat, because I think we'll probably both agree it's a big, big part even these days with the kids out there. It's something they need to get sorted out. You know, the mental side even more so. There's a lot more pressure on them now. There's more competitions. There's a lot more traveling. You know, there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more pressure on these lads, and I think psychologically it can take its toll. And what about you, Boz? Over your career, it's your coaches and what have you.
Yeah, I didn't really see anyone till I was in my, probably similar to Pat, really. Well, I was in my late, getting to, I think I went to see Frank Callum when I was about 26, 27 for literally an hour, 2 hours, because it's such a long way away to Blackpool. And then after that, I went to see a really good friend of mine in Stoke-on-Trent, who's a really good coach, but he's never put himself about. His name is Dave Deeks, and he's coached, I think he helped Ray Redden in the early days, Dave Harrell, Jamie Cope, and he really improved my scoring because I wasn't, sort of made you action out a bit as well, to be fair, he did. And I started scoring very heavily when I went to see Dave. I think I'd had 4 maximum breaks when I went to see him, and then within the space of about 3 or 4 years, I got up to about 40 maximum breaks just through his help. So, and then I came to a sort of, my long game wasn't very good, and then I linked up with Stephen Feeney, who's been a lifelong friend of mine, and we did the sightright thing, put that into a pre-shot routine, and that really helped me. Really helped me, and that was when that coincided with me doing really well, because when I went to see Steve, I was scoring very heavily, but I wasn't really, I had no long game to speak of. Safety wasn't very good either, believe it or not. And the sightright thing really sort of helped my long game and my long pattern and my safety game. And so I was with Steve up until about, I'm guessing, 2006 or something. And but I still use sightright. I mean, I'm a sightright coach, and I still use sightright methods now. I mean, sightright does what it works. It's as simple as that. So and it's not rocket science, but it is really good. Really, it'll work for anyone. So that really helped me. And like I say, Dave Deeks coached me for years, and he was a massive help as well. So they've been my sort of main two. Although I haven't. Well, I know recently I've been to see Nick Barrow. He's helped. I'm some sort of just trying to catch up now. I've been seeing Nick 3 or 4 times, so he's very good as well. I think you don't have to stick with the same coach. I think you can get different people, different information off different people. I think Ronnie. I think I'm right in saying he's seen a lot of coaches over his career, which sometimes people, he obviously Ronnie. Yeah, I think he's seen plenty of coaches, which people don't really know a lot about that, But obviously Ronnie, the most talented player on tour. I think perhaps the most talented player ever, but a guy who's seen, a lot of coaches. Even when he was youngster, he would have been seeing coaches when he was 12, 13, 14, I'm guessing,
Did you have to make a change under
there we go. I wish I'd have had coaching when I was in my teens early.
What about Pat? What are your views on sightright?
No, it was pretty much it was just pre-shot stuff.
Right.
Well, it works. As simple as that. I mean, if you're not looking at the shot correctly before you play it, sightright will prove that to you. And if you're not looking at the shot correctly to start with, you're in trouble. And sightright will fix that. Yeah. No question at all. So,
I had a look at it when
that's the top and bottom of it for me.
It scared me because it was the difference.
Really? Yeah. No, it's very. Well, I think
there was the difference between sighting a point and sighting a line. The premise was for snooker, you have to sight a line, and the alignment boards were telling me that I sight a point with my right eye. Naturally, the test with the chalk on the table, Frank Collins one. I naturally sight a point with my right eye. Boards were telling me that I sight a line with my left eye, and just far too much of a change for me to take my cue from under my right eye to under my left eye.
Really?
I tried that. Yeah, I tried that for a few shots, and I couldn't hit a half ball blue off a spot in the middle. Never mind pot it. Couldn't hit the blue. You imagine taking your cue you've played from there all your life to there.
Yeah, I mean,
so that scared me and put me off it straight away.
All right.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, really, yeah. Well, when I first did it, I wasn't. I mean, I didn't have a pre-shot routine really. I was probably sliding into the shot a bit and stuff like that. So that that just made sure 100% that before I played the shot, I was on the right line before I got down. And that'll do that for anyone. Before you get down, you should be on the right line of the shot, and sightright will show you if you're on the right line. So
it's helped an awful lot of players. I think it helped the likes of Mark Davis start to make a breakthrough, and Stewart did it as well. So it's helped an awful lot of players.
Yeah, I was really.
It helps.
No, it's not a big change you have to make. I think I don't know whether you know, I don't think it's a huge, you know, thing that you change that you have to go through to do sightright. You know, that's my view anyway. So you know, it works. I think the beauty of it is it's really quite simple, but it's a bit of genius and it works. It'll show you if you're sighting a straight line correctly, and there isn't a lot else that'll do that really. You know,
yeah.
Huh?
Is sightright any good if you're cockeyed? No.
I think you're lost.
We've got Stephen Feeney's coming on the show in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to organise it.
Hopefully, Stephen all about it. Yeah.
Get a wee bit of insight to what he's doing, because I've had a couple of chats with Stephen in the Players' Lounge there last few months, and he's a very, very interesting chap. You know, and it's just good to get inside his head a wee bit and see what he's doing with the players. I mean, I like the sightright thing. I think it's a good thing. I think anything that can improve the player's game at any level is a good thing. And the sightright thing, pure and simply, does improve everybody's game. You know, so Stephen's coming on.
That'll be interesting. Very
good. Right now,
before we move on the coaches, can I just say, Terry Griffiths was amazing to me, but the revelation to me was having watched Terry for years on the tally and not really known his personality that well. You know, he was obviously had a reputation for being a slow player and being a conservative player, which I don't think was right anyway. But the laughs that I had in his matchroom in Clonathley when I was spending 5 and 6 hours a day in there with him, he had me crying, laughing, mostly at myself, because of the things that I would say to him, and he would laugh at that, and then he would point out to me how stupid I was. So there were great memories for me, and I have to say I really, really appreciate everything that Terry did for me.
No, I'm sure Terry will appreciate that, Pat. He's got a fantastic reputation as a coach.
Rightly
so many players have said so many good things about him. I spoke to Terry very briefly a couple of times at some of the events there, and not for very long, but you just feel as you want to talk to him a little longer. You know, he's got so much to offer. Same thing goes for Dennis Taylor and Joe Johnson. You get so much from them, you know, just little chats with them.
All those former champions are so approachable. They're great, terrific guys.
You know, getting a couple of wee
good guys.
Have a look at a couple of wee questions here. John Wood's asking, do you both still hit 147s in practice? Start with you, Pat.
Not as often. I've only hit about 12 or 13, which is pretty poor when you hear some of the numbers been bandied about that some of the guys have hit in their careers. But listen, it took me a long time to hit one, so I'm happy with that. But I haven't hit one for about 3 or 4 years, so no is the answer to that question.
These young guys are hitting them all the time. I mean, Mark Allen and Jordan Brown are hitting them. They're hitting them every other day, apparently.
Yeah.
You know,
Mark doesn't do an exhibition without hitting a 147. It seems he gets one every time, which is phenomenal to me.
It is incredible. Barry?
Yeah.
Boss?
Yeah, no, I haven't hit one for a good while. I play most of my snooker on my own, but I was never a prolific 147 maker. I don't think I've had one in a tournament. Lucky enough to have one in a tournament.
Brilliant.
But and I missed the black for another one actually in another tournament. But I haven't had that many. I've only had probably less than, I reckon I've had less than a dozen against other people. Most of mine, I count them if I have them on my own, to be honest with you. But I barely because of sort of I've spent a lot of time living in Norwich. I don't really practice with many people. Although now I've got Luke, my son Luke to play, and George Bragnall to play with. So I've got a few more people to play with than I used to have. So, but yeah. I mean, you know, 147s are a lot more commonplace than they were years ago. That's for sure.
You know, you mentioned Luke. Luke has improved so much. You know, just in case some of the viewers out there don't know Luke Pinches is he's quite a regular pro-am snooker player, a young guy. Obviously, your son Barry, he comes and plays the competitions. He's improved all the time. Every time I see him, he just looks as if he's gained so much each time he comes to the events. And I keep saying it, who better to have as a coach? But this leads me on to another wee question here, which I've just put away there. I nearly forgot about it. One of the guys was asking, but you touched on it there, Barry, about practice. Do you prefer to practice on your own, or would you rather have people around to practice with? We'll start with you, Pat.
I like to mix it up. I think you've got to spend time on your own, sort of grooving your action and building your confidence, sort of that you know what you're doing, repeating shots, learning what's going wrong and how to fix things, all that type of stuff. And then when you do that, you want to test yourself by playing against somebody to see if what you've been practicing on is helping and is working. So I like to mix it up, and I would say probably at my stage I tend to play a little bit more on my own, but I still practice regularly with other players. A good friend, Dermot Lahan, comes around to me. I'm very lucky to have a snooker room next door at my mother and father-in-law's house, so it's there in the evenings after work for a couple of hours, and Dermot will come around and we'll have a few frames. So mix it up would be my opinion on that.
Well, I'll be joining you very soon after all this mess is over, Pat. I'm coming over with about 6 bottles of red wine, okay? We'll have a best of 11 for a tenner. Barry, what about you?
Sounds like a good night.
Yeah, I think Pat hit the nail on the head there, really. It's ideal if you can mix things up. I mean, I've probably played too much on my own in a way that you can become over analytical, I think, if you play too much on your own. And but I was kind of forced into that sort of living where I live in Norwich. There weren't that many players, and we're a bit cut off from the rest of the country as well. So, but so I think Pat's hit the nail on the head. You need to put some hours in on your own, I think, and then try and find players who you can test that against before you go up in a match situation, which then again is a completely different situation again.
The thing to be wary of when you're practicing on your own is it's a snooker player's natural want to tinker. You're always looking for something a little bit extra. Could I do this? Could I do that? Just to improve a little bit more. And sometimes you've got the Ian Baker Finch syndrome, where he was like top of the world playing golf, winning the Open, playing out of his skin, went looking for a little bit more and lost everything, in terms of his golf game. So you have to be very careful. And I'm like Barry, I tend to be over analytical. I think it was Nick Faldo came out with a quote, you can have paralysis by analysis. So if I find myself going down that road a little bit, I'll just take a step back and start trying to play a little here without thinking about what I'm doing.
Nice wee bit of bit of intellectual there, maybe there, Pat. It's good. That you are a thinker. I haven't actually known you. Obviously you're a lot older than me, so I mean, it took me a while to catch up. But I mean, no, it's you are an intellectual in the game. And I think players think a bit more, and in that respect, it's good too. I mean, tinkering around with different shots, tinkering around with cue actions. Well, that can get very, very messy.
A little bit of a minefield.
Right now,
it is a minefield. It is a minefield.
Right, here's a question here from Robbie Watson. I know Robbie Watson. He's another balded head fellow, looks about 60 or 70. Right, he's asking me, do you see the seniors tour going from strength to strength? And he's asking you, Pat, when are you going to win the Mark Allen Classic? We'll start with the seniors thing. We'll start off with you, Pat.
The seniors tour has been absolutely fantastic for us older guys. It started with the World Championship, I think, in 2017. I was lucky enough to qualify. Got absolutely tanked in the first round by Joe Johnson, which shows you just how well some of the older world champions can still play. Joe stuff, he's great. And it's expanded every year. It's been incredible because I thought my days of playing in big venues with crowds against legends of the game were all long gone, and to have these opportunities again is incredible. And it's becoming more and more competitive to try and get through the qualifiers. I haven't won a qualifier in ages, so I think it will go from strength to strength. And there's going to be a couple of little changes next year. There's talk about maybe having a Q school type event where you're going to try and qualify for a few events at once. So it's just getting better and better. And I can't thank Jason Francis enough and all his team who work so hard at these events for putting them on for us older guys and giving us the opportunity to play competitive snooker at a decent level again. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Well, Pat, I'm glad that you are enjoying it, because you're actually doing quite well. Barry, just going over to you again on this one about the seniors events. I'm not sure you can play in them at the moment because you're back on the tour, but what are your views on it anyway?
No, not. Yeah, no, I think the seniors tour was fantastic. I mean, I had a couple of years playing on there, 2 or 3 years, I think, and actually it really got my enthusiasm back, because when I dropped off the tour, there weren't really many amateur tournaments to go at, and there was no senior tour. But then the next season, a sort of proper senior tour kicked in, and I thought, well, I'll start playing again, and really enjoyed it. Great to see a load of old faces, from years ago I hadn't seen for 20, 25 years or whatever, and a good standard, really good. It's not easy to win one of those things, like Pat said, not easy to win one of those things and qualify. And there's a lot of older guys have got the cues out and started playing again, and that can only be good. So yeah, I think I tip my hat to everyone who's helped, with the seniors tour. And set it up, and I think it will go from strength to strength. Yeah, and like Pat said, it's great to play. I was lucky enough to win an event, play at the Crucible. I lost in the final on the black to Joe Johnson, but it was a fantastic weekend. And that those things you don't forget about those things. It's brilliant.
The other aspect of that is for me is I can't believe how many new friends I've made. I've obviously made most of my friends in my life I've made through snooker, from juniors to pros to amateur international events, all through my career. And it was just starting to that aspect of things was fading. And then the seniors tours come up again, came up like a few years ago, and started to meet lots of new people that I would never have met, and now I've made some fantastic new friends because of it. So it's not as
they're great.
Serious on the table. It's serious, but it's not as serious off the table. We socialise together over the weekend. We have a few drinks, we have a few laughs, and it's been a really, really enjoyable experience. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah, excellent.
That is
excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Pat. I like Barry said it. Our wee build-up banter video the other day there, is actually very true. If you're doing very well in the seniors, mate, you're beating someone. I know you are beating some decent amateurs. Would you not consider maybe just giving Q School a wee go just to see?
No, to be honest, when I went off the second time in about 2011, I thought I was too old at 40 to be going back to commit to that many tournaments. It's just, I don't want to move to England away from my family and my home, so I would have to commute to all those tournaments. And at that stage, it was just starting to expand to about something in the region of 18 to 20 to 22 tournaments, and I just thought there's no way I want to be committing to that level of travel and time away. And also there was the financial worry, because if you go and you bomb, if you qualify for the tour and then you bomb, you're going to cost yourself about 10 grand. You're going to be missing a load of weeks work. So it's just my sort of cautious nature. I just said no. That ship has sailed now. But like, I love snooker. I've loved snooker from the first minute I ever played it, and I was straight back as soon as I went off the tour. I was straight back playing amateur tournaments in Northern Ireland, and as long as I'm still fit to hit 50, I'll be playing those for many years to come, I hope.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right, Barry. Right. Anyway, look, we've got to answer some of these questions here, because I'm getting carried away as usual. Right. Some questions that came in a wee while ago there. Right. Toughest matches. Your toughest matches over here. Sorry. All right. Can you hear me? All right.
The toughest match.
Toughest matches of your career.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Start off with you, Boz. What's your toughest match of your career?
Cool. Wow. I think
so tough, so hard.
I mean, you had I'll tell you what.
Probably the toughest one that I lost was when I lost to Henry at the Crucible in the last.
Yeah.
Your signal's a wee bit weak there, Barry.
Hello?
Can you hear us all right? You there, Barry? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Pat, can you hear
you now?
right?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just picking up a wee bit.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, you did have, who was it, Barry? Was it you that had that 100-minute match against McManus? Was that you? Who was it?
Yeah.
That was one frame.
One frame.
Yeah.
One frame.
Yeah, Fergal did you a favour there, Barry. Took that record off you.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
he smashed the record as well. He didn't just beat it; he smashed the record by about 20 minutes. But the toughest match I ever played lost was definitely when I lost to Henry 13-12 at the Crucible. That was a tough one to take because that would have been to get to the quarters, and so that was my toughest game, I think. Yeah,
fair enough.
That was a tough one.
You played so well in that match. Like, you played absolutely awesome, and just to get pipped 13-12 by
it was a very good standard. Yeah, it was a good standard, very good standard. I thought, yeah.
How long have you got, Dave? I could keep
you must remember one match. You must remember one match. It was like,
I've got 100 that I've bottled that I would love to have back again.
Don't be doing a bloody Rodney Goggins on me now. Just give me one.
Anytime anybody's asking me about my toughest loss at snooker, it's a pretty random one. It was against Marcus Campbell, who's a very good friend of mine, great player. It was 9-8 in the UK qualifiers to qualify to play Joe Perry in York, and I never played in York, never qualified in York once.
Great player.
And Marcus is brilliant, super guy. And I had this pink in the last frame. It was a scrappy match. We're both struggling. And I said, if I pot this, I've won. Because I just have to pot the pink, and the red's over the hole, and it's game over. And I potted the pink, and I potted the red, and I lost position, and I lost the match. And I was in a chalet in Pontins on my own that night. And every time I put my head in the pillow, the sweat just started coming down my head. Because I went, how did I lose that? I didn't lose that match, did I? I thought I won that match. And I was walking around the chalet in Pontins at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning because I was going through that much torture.
Hurtful.
Back then, there were 6 tournaments in the season. So you would practice for a month, and then you go and play. And my last season on the tour in 06, when I went off the first time, I lost first round in every tournament bar the last one. And I was practicing for a month or 6 weeks, going and losing and going and doing the same routine again. And in the middle of that was that match for Marcus, and I'll never forget. Yeah, I never had such a bad night after a snooker match in my life. So that has to be my toughest loss.
Barry, I'm going to touch on something here for you. You went, you dropped off the tour, and I had a wee chat with you about this prior because you were playing quite a lot of my pro-ams on the build-up to going back to Q School. You did go back to Q School, and I think you actually said you probably surprised yourself. You surprised yourself a wee bit, but you got back on the tour, mate, and you did very well. And unfortunately, you had to play your son, Luke. How did that feel? Jeez.
Yeah, that was Q School last year. That was, but that was nasty, not nice. Yeah, that was horrible. I mean, I felt as though Luke, I was probably a very big favourite to win that game, but Luke could have beaten me if he played well. That's he's obviously getting closer and closer now. But yeah, that was a horrible situation. And I had people ringing up from the press, wanted to talk about it, and you just think, oh my God, not nice. No, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, to be honest with you. I didn't enjoy 1 minute of that match. No, I think I won 4-1, but it wasn't enjoyable.
Why didn't you let him win? I mean, for Christ's sake.
No, I wouldn't do that. No,
40 years younger than you. No,
I can't do that. I felt as if I had a chance to qualify day.
Once you get us on the table, we're all animals. We want to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. That year, I put Luke in Q School. Was just, but I put him in Q School that year because you had to go in Q School to get on the challenge tour. So he wasn't anywhere near at a level where he could be good enough to play on the tour 2 years ago. But you had to play in Q School to even be allowed to play on the challenge tour. So that was why I stuck him in it, really, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Luke is improving all the time, and I hope, you know, you lads continue to come down and play as much as you can. I mean, hopefully when we get out of this mess and we can get back on the tables.
Yeah.
Right now, here's one for you here. I got Gary Filtness. He's always watching. He's listening to us very, very carefully.
10 out of 10.
He's asking what player over the years has done the best with limited ability, in your opinions. We'll start with you, Pat.
Me.
All right. That's a wee bit of a tough one, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's a bit maybe.
Well, I'll be honest. There were a lot more talented players than me came through the junior ranks in Northern Ireland. Jason Prince, absolute. I thought Jason Prince was going to be like top 16. Harry Morgan, Martin O'Neill when he was 15. I thought he was going to be a world beater. Declan Hughes won the Pontins Pro-Am, made like 5 centuries. Mickey Duffy beat Ronnie in a ranking tournament, the Grand Prix in Sunderland one year. Like, all these guys had far more ability than me, but I just worked my socks off. I just, practiced, and you wouldn't think about it when I'm sitting here having a glass of wine, but I didn't drink till I was in my 30s, and I just spent all my spare time practicing and playing snooker.
Very, very sad, man.
And yeah, still are. And I feel like if those guys had worked as hard as I did, they would have done better than me. But I got my reward for putting all that work in. So definitely, my answer to that question is me.
Baz,
I'm away for a wine here.
Yeah, I think I would say, like, to say limited ability is probably not fair, but I think someone like, say, I think he's done. I really admire as a player, and I think he's a brilliant player. In fact, he's been a world champion, and a lot of people wouldn't say he's the most talented player in the world, but he makes up for it in other areas as Graham Dott. I think Graham Dott is a fantastic player who I don't think too many people would have picked him out to be a world champion when he was perhaps younger. And I think he's made another 2 finals, or has he been in 3 Crucible finals or 2? So, I think he's done fantastically well. He's a real, like I say, player who I think he's got, if you can get the most out of whatever you've got, I think that's what everyone's aiming for, isn't it? I think Graham Dott, for me, comes into that category personally. And like I say, I've got a lot of admiration for Graham and a lot of time for him. And so I think Graham would be near the top of my list.
That's a very
great
good
player. Great player.
I think he gets a little bit of a harsh deal, Graham, because people don't actually realise what a fantastic player he is. Some of the snooker that I've seen him play.
Yeah, no, I think he's a fantastic player, but I think there's, like to say, that because his cue ball control maybe he's not as good as some other players, but he's always been a fantastic potter and quite a quick player. Because I remember years ago he got a bit of a bad rap. People were saying he was slow, but he's not. He's never been a slow player. He gets on with the game. He's tactically he's very good. He's really good tactically, and that's why perhaps some of his matches, like mine, my matches go on forever, because really, truthfully, Graham plays pretty much the right shots all the time. And I think some people
unbelievably gritty competitor.
Fantastic. I mean, I always thought Mark Selby as well. He's another guy who people say, he's boring and this and that. But I think Mark's a fantastic player, and I think he's got tremendous ability as well. Actually, as a junior, Mark won everything. Mark Selby did as a junior. A fantastic player, brilliant temperament, really lovely guy as well. He's another one. Mark, fantastic.
Well, there you go, Daddy. You're better than you look. I can't think of another way to the put that there. Right, that's how we look at another question here. That's a very interesting question for Gary Filtness. Gary's just in case some of you lads don't know who Gary Filtness is, he's old, but he's a very good coach.
The 10 with his limited ability.
Listen, Gary is a very good coach. He has a lot of ability, I know this because he keeps reminding me. Okay.
Anyway. Gary got the yips. Gary got the yips. He's told you that. He got the yips, didn't he? Gary did.
Yes.
Gary got the yips.
Well, he gives me the yips just talking to him. You know, he gets on my nerves, Gary.
You've got to give unbelievable credit to anybody who gets that.
This is one of the reasons why I'm drinking wine here, just in case you two get on my nerves. You know, you start talking about Gary Filtness, I'm starting to get the shakes here. I want another drink.
And I've seen people with it.
Anyway, Gary has just come back there, and this is like a double hit here. So, and this is one of the questions actually about the tables. You know, Riley or Star? I brought up the Rossin table, which Stuart Bingham didn't think too much of. But so, what about is it time to change the tables, lads, or what do you think? Start off with you, Pat.
I don't know if it's because I spent most of my pro career playing on them, but I prefer the Rileys. There's not, I don't find much of a difference in them, but I don't know what it is. I just think the Rileys play a little bit better. I found the Stars a little bit of an adjustment when they changed them, but I did get used to them. It's a tough one again. There's not much in it, but if I had to pick one, I'd go for Riley. And I've got a Riley from the World Pro qualifiers in 2002, and I definitely wouldn't change it for the world.
20 years ago, Barry.
Yeah, 18 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell the story. I always tell this story when people ask me about, especially the Star Riley thing. I went to a tournament I think it was the China Open, and at the time, Riley's had all the pro tournaments were played on Riley tables, but this particular China Open was being played on Star tables. And all the players were saying, what these tables are going to be like, and this, that, and the other. And the overall sort of feeling was that really the Stars were exactly the same as the Rileys, because they had the same templates, and they were obviously the Chinese were good at copying stuff and this and that, and everybody said, well, really, there's really very, if any difference at all. There's no difference. So I don't really see a lot of I've never seen that much difference in them, to be honest with you. I mean, I've got a table in my match room, and it's a Riley silver leg. But they're a set of cushions that I've had for 15, 20 years, Riley cushions. So, and but there we go. I don't think I think the BCEs were very good years ago when I first turned pro. They were really good. I think they're all, if you get a good table with good steel block cushions and a good match cloth, then you're sort of halfway there, really.
I think a lot of people, just touching on the tables there for a second, a lot of people think the Star table. I mean, the Star table's been around for a long time now, and obviously there's a contract involved. We're not going to get into too much involved with that, but there is like the Star range of tables. There's like 25. It's not 25 changes or levels of the table. So they have made little changes as it's going along. They've upgraded the table as such. Right. So I mean, that again,
right, okay.
Sort of thing. Didn't know that.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah. All right. Who's that? That was actually Gary. Oh, here's Rodney. Rodney's come on. We're in trouble.
We could be here for a while.
Yes, we could. It's a good job I don't have him on the screen. We wouldn't get a word in edgeways. Anyway, here he is. As pros, would you change anything in your
Hello, Rodney.
As professionals, would you change anything in your careers? Start with you, Pat.
Wow. Trust Rodney to come up with one that stumps you. Well, I guess some people, like Jimmy, for example, I'm sure regrets not being a little bit more disciplined with all the talent and ability that he had. I can't say it about me because I put in maximum effort, so I've no regrets in that regard. I've regrets, like I've lost a lot of big matches from winning positions, which really hurt. I finished up going off the tour by losing from 8-4 up in the world against Matt Selt, who's a good friend of mine, great player, but killer way to go. And I lost from 7-4 up in the semis of the World Amateurs. You've already touched like 6-2 up against Joe in the quarter. So, I regret losing matches from winning positions, but that's on me, and there's nothing I can do about that. But I certainly don't regret the effort that I put in. If I have one regret, I might have socialised a little bit more. But then again, if you flip that the other way, if I'd socialised a little bit more, I mightn't have done as well as I did. So I'd have to, other than losing matches from winning positions, which we've all done, I have no regrets.
Well, not touching a drink till you were 30.
No, I still don't regret that.
Barris. About you, Barris?
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of if I could have changed anything, I think looking back, I mean, there weren't that many coaches around in the mid to late 80s, but I wish I would have got some good fundamental coaching when I was a kid, because I never had that. I was pretty much just self-taught, and I never, like I say, I never saw a coach till I was 27, really, and I had a lot of bad habits before that, and I can look back at video of me when I won the English Amateur, and I actually had an awful cue action. It was awful, and but so that would be my thing, and I would say, if you look at especially you could sort of compartmentalize the Chinese. They've all got very good fundamentals, and they've all had good coaching at a very young age.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Any kid who comes into any sport should get the fundamentals, which I never had good fundamentals, until I was probably, well, God knows how.
Must have had tremendous,
so that would be the thing that I would change.
To do what you did,
changed,
like English amateur champion, world amateur runner-up, English amateur final the next year, and you're saying you had a bad cue action. So you obviously had a very natural gift for playing snooker.
Yeah. I had a great. I won a lot of tournaments as an amateur, but
Our eyes close up again.
Probably, I would say, but that'll only get you so far, won't it? I mean, if I can think of a couple. I can think of a. Oh, have I? Oh dear. Am I right now? Can you hear me?
Okay, there. I can hear you. Yeah, your stream's a wee bit slow. It has a reflection on your character, but don't worry.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. That's Norwich. That's Norwich. Yeah. I live in Norfolk.
Well, that's another reason why.
Anyway, yeah, no, I was just. Yeah. I mean, I don't sort of. I remember playing a couple of juniors years ago, and I played two of them in the same day at Willie Thorne's in Leicester, and one of them was. I mean, he's not with us anymore. Poor, rest in peace, Lee Spick. He was a tremendously talented player. Lee Spick was. And I played Sean Murphy on the same day. And I thought to myself, do you know what? Both these kids have got loads of talent, but Sean Murphy quite obviously had a Rolls Royce cue action, and Lee Spick's cue action was probably, he could have probably done with someone saying to him, look, you need to change a few things, because, and I think that showed in a bit in the progress they made, because Lee Spick's cue action wasn't anywhere near as good as Sean Murphy's, and I think that's why the reason why Steve Davis dominated the game in the 80s. He was way ahead. One of the reasons why he was just way ahead of the ball game as far as technique was concerned. Yeah. And Stephen Hendry too in the 90s, fantastic technique.
Somebody's asked me another question there about your 100-minute McManus. Can you both hear me all right, guys? Yes?
I'm struggling to hear Barry, but I can hear you, Dave.
Can you hear me? That's all right. Yeah, Barry, your stream's... Your stream's a little bit...
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
You're going to have to get with it. Get yourself a computer while you're in the house. You can order one online through Argus. They're only about 300 quid, That computer there, listen, I know that.
This is a top-notch computer. That
computer, sort it out, will you? We're on live TV. Anyway, here's another question.
Windows XP. Windows XP.
Best of sevens or best of nines? Pat?
Well, the players at a reasonable level are always going to want the longer matches because they feel it gives them a better chance. You know, the longer the match, you feel like the player with the most ability should win. So, best of threes for me.
Best of threes. Very good.
Yeah. Good answer. Yeah.
Pat's having a sense of humour. Go ahead, carry on.
No, listen, if best of sevens allow for more players to go to the venues, then that's fair for everybody. The top guys probably won't like me saying that, but, you know, because they've earned their position and they like their, you know, when I was playing, it was such a huge deal. I know when I qualified for my first couple of venues, it was such a huge deal to go and play those guys at the venues, stroke on the TV tables, because they were completely at home and it was totally alien to me and to obviously anybody who was qualifying. But I think, you know, best of sevens allow certainly the home nations type events to be run off in a week. So you want the big tournaments to stay the way they are, the World Championships, the UK, the longer matches. But I think best of sevens are exciting, interesting, and they allow for a level playing field for 128 players at a venue. So I'm all for them.
Interesting. Baz?
Yeah, I'm with Pat there. Really, I think from a yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from a spectator's point of view, I think best of sevens. You know, they're interesting. I mean, I like the longer tournaments. I like watching the longer tournaments with the World Championships, obviously the UK. But best of sevens from the get go, every shot is really important, and I kind of like that. You know, I like watching that almost better than the longer frames, and I think Barry Hearn's done a good job introducing best of sevens and no intervals either. You know, I think that's really good. Yeah.
Some would prefer the best of nines though.
Yeah,
best of nines are more old school.
Well, I mean,
changed
yeah,
things, so
everyone's got used to best of nines. Yeah. You know, I think in snooker we needed someone like Barry Hearn to take over and dictate to the players, because, you know, it was all got a bit stale and this and that, and you know, I don't see anything. Best of seven, still plenty of time to get your head into the game, and you get plenty of shots. It's very rare you don't get any chances even in a best of seven. So I think best of sevens are good. You know, I don't mind them at all.
Same here.
And I feel like I said, I think they're good commercially. They're good for TV. You know, the viewers, people nowadays, a lot of people don't want to sit there for 4 or 5 hours watch a snooker match. Best of sevens can be over in most, you know, in an hour and a half. A lot of the best of seven games, no intervals. You know, I've never particularly liked intervals in even in best of nine games. I sort of was calling to get rid of intervals donkeys years ago, but. Yeah, I think we did play a qualifier this year with no intervals, and the game seemed to go quite a bit quicker. But yeah, I think best of sevens are good.
I think a mix and a variety is really good for the game.
Exactly, yeah. Variety. I mean, I think the snooker shootout has been fantastic.
You look at your big tournaments like the Masters with best of 11s, and those like Tour Championships and Players Championship tournaments with the longer matches. And then the home nations events. I love watching the home nations events. They're brilliant. They're played off in a week. 128 players. No, I think the current mix that they have is very good for the game, and the game's in great shape, which is the important thing.
Very good. Yeah, very good.
Right, here's a question here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question from both guys. To Marvin Morgan and Derek McMillan. They're asking who's going to win the next World Championship.
That's an interesting question. There are quite a few contenders.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how everybody deals with the layoff, and I guess the players that have access to practice facilities will have an advantage. And I don't know who those players are. On current form, I mean, Judd has obviously established himself as the leading player in the game because of what he's done in the last 18 months or so. I've lost count of the number of tournaments he's won. I think he's 6th this season, which is a new record. 6 ranking events this season, which is phenomenal. You know, not he's won one and he's broken his duck. He might go on a run and win a few. So he's the outstanding candidate at the minute, I would say.
Barry?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Pat there. I think Judd would be the obvious favourite, but you know he's probably going to be 4-5 to 1 with the bookies or something. So you know, maybe a 20% chance of winning. He's the favourite. I mean, it's very open tournament. There's so many. I think there's a lot of players who are capable of winning the World Championships, and you know you got obviously Mark Selby, Judd, Ronnie, Neil Robertson, Ding if his head is on right, and you know there's
Sean Murphy
there's probably missed a couple. Sean Murphy came back on form, didn't he? Back on form. Sean Murphy this year, if it goes ahead this year, I think it's going to be really wide open. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick Judd. I think
Judd. He's very. It's you know. He's such an attacking player too. I mean, it's quite scary actually. I think. I mean, I don't know how you two feel, but very much like Ronnie, he must be very intimidating to play because he takes. I mean, he takes a lot of shots on. He does take risks. All right, some of them are calculated, but he's such a talented potter. It's incredible at the pace he hits the ball. But I mean, players must be very intimidated by him, just like Ronnie.
Well, it's intimidating to sit at home and watch him play tally the balls he pots with the action he gets in the ball. I mean, he plays those exhibition shots when he's got the frame one and he's clearing up. And I know how he plays. He plays them without looking at them, and I don't know how he's not afraid of miscuing because he's putting that much spin in the ball and giving it that much power. It's phenomenal for somebody like me who's afraid of miscuing on the black of a spot. It's phenomenal to watch. Well, I played him in the Grand Prix groups. He was 17. And I remember this very well. There was 3 reds left, and I nailed him. I put him down in the jaws of the yellow pocket with 2 reds down the one side cushion and covered the open red in the middle of the table. And I says, I've got him here. The 2 reds were on the side cushion near the pink spot about a foot apart, and he just got down and planted them down the side cushion and cleared up. And I thought, that guy is going to be a star in the future. And
great player.
Turned out that
way. Yeah, I think he's reined it in a bit though, hasn't he? He's reined his shot selection in a bit. He's not as I don't think he's not going for as many as he was a couple of years ago, and I think that's why he's winning more as well. You know, he's more consistent. Yeah, but he's definitely reined it in. He doesn't go for them. You know, you don't see him go for too many really daft ones anymore. I don't think he does anyway. I think that's partly why he's doing better. You know, he's great. He always could play safe, but he never really wanted to. But now I think he realises the penny dropped. He's got to play safe. You know, you can't go for these silly 10-15% shots. And I think perhaps Jack Lisowski might be the next one who, when he reins it in, he'll make a big step forward because Jack Lisowski, some of the shots he goes for are unbelievable. You know, just the same as Judd was 2 or 3 years ago, or 3, 4, 5 years ago. Goes for some unbelievable shots. Very
much so, Jack. I'm quite surprised that Jack took so long to actually come through because when I first started watching Jack years ago, a few years ago when he came on, I was just really surprised. He just couldn't quite get over the line, but now he's found that something. I think he's just matured psychologically because he was very attacking player, just like Judd, very attacking player, relentless, very impatient, and I think he's matured. Yeah. It's the reason why he's moved a lot forward.
Another phenomenal talent, and what a player to watch! Like as a player that's slow and has to think about everything he's doing. To watch a player like Jack just get down and do everything so naturally, Tip Chaya is another player. You're just watching and you're thinking like,
great player.
These guys. It's like they were born to play snooker because they do it. You know, by the time I've walked the table and thought about the shot, they've played the shot and they're on to the next shot. It's phenomenal to watch. And I think Jack will eventually make a big breakthrough. I think it's only a question of time.
Yes, that's very.
Definitely.
To a couple of questions here, actually, guys. Just try and get through some of these. Right, up and coming players. Well, they're an amateur on the tour. Who are the ones to watch at the moment for both of you?
From a selfish point of view, there are an awful lot of good players coming through from this part of the world, north and south. I know young Aaron Hill has just won his second European title in a row, which is phenomenal. He's only about 17, 18.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah,
Ross Bullman as well, a great prospect. From the north here, Mark Allen's stepson, Robbie McGuigan. He's another incredible talent. I played him in the final of a tournament in Antrim a few weeks ago, start of the season. And his first two scores were 130 off a long red and 113 off a brilliant red to the middle. So, I mean, phenomenal prospect. And again, we want, Irish snooker north and south has had a fantastic tradition of being at the top of the game, and want to see that continue. So I'm hoping all those young lads and many more, I can't mention all the names, but there are plenty of those guys who are hopefully going to carry us forward in the future.
Mm-hmm. Getting away from the Irish. Though Robbie's very talented, mate. He's I'll tell you what I do like about Robbie. I like his demeanour. He's not a mouthpiece. A lot of these wee lads are mouthpieces. You know, he just gets on with it.
Yeah.
He focuses. He's got a good focus. Look, wee bit of temper in there. You can see a wee bit of anxiety in there. But look, that's in all these good young players who are coming through. You know, Barry
147 on the caught on the closed circuit TV and the club cameras when he's 13. In a frame against somebody, which is incredible. So hopefully he'll go on to do big things.
You, Barry?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of those Irish lads play, to be honest with you. But I know Robbie's done very well on the Challenge Tour. He's had some good runs, and I think I've seen a lot of the English junior snooker with going around with Luke, and they're playing some good stuff on there, a lot of the lads. And one of the lads who sort of comes up, his name comes up a lot, but is Sean Maddox. He's done. I mean, he nearly got his tour card. He lost in the final of the under-18s, and to get his tour card, lost to a Chinese lad, and the World Amateur under-18s, I think it was, and. I think he lost in the final round of Q School last year to Dave Lilly. But just taking that and then taking Sean, he plays in the Premier Under-21 tour, but he's not dominating that tour or doing. It's not like he's setting that tour alight. And I think that's a credit to the other lads who are on the Under-21 tour. They're all playing some good stuff. I think there's some good young English boys about. Yeah, I think there's they're playing some good stuff.
Here's an interesting question from Stuart Bond. Hello. He's asking, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question from Stuart Bond.
Yep.
If you could have a professional's cue action, whose would it be? Pat?
It's hard to go past Ronnie, isn't it? I mean,
tremendous cue. That's the first one I'd think of.
Absolutely phenomenal. And I was very, very lucky to get a couple of practice sessions with him. He was over here doing some exhibitions in 2004, actually just before he went on and won the world that year. And I was very lucky that he was looking for some practice, and obviously had a Rayleigh table, and I practiced with him 2 days in a row. And to see him close up, what he can do with the ball and his panache and style and grace, it's phenomenal. So there are quite a few players that I'd like to have their cue actions, to be honest, but Ronnie's probably top of the list.
Barry?
Yeah, I'm going to say a couple, but Sean Murphy, and I'll probably an obvious pick, and another one is a guy who was an amateur with me, and he's had the same cue action since he's 15 years old. And I know he went to see Frank Callum when he was 14, 15. That's Anthony Hamilton. I think he's got a fantastic cue action.
Who's that, Barry?
So that's they're my two picks.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful cue action. Yeah.
Sorry, it was Sean Murphy and Anthony Hamilton. And Anthony had that cue action when he was 15 years old. Yeah. Great cue action.
Talented player. Nice lad, too. Better than the ledge.
Scoring machine. Absolute scoring machine.
Oh, yeah, top. Yeah. Fantastic player.
Getting some nice compliments for you as well.
Really?
That's a good thing. Nobody's laying into me. I'll say I talk too much. I've been very good, actually.
Yeah.
I've been really, really good. Right, now we're going to touch on cues and tips here.
I didn't know there was a chat thing.
Sorry, Baz. Terrible, man.
I didn't know there was a chat thing on here. You can chat with the people.
No, the questions are on the live feed. I can see the questions.
Yeah, carry on.
And then I had questions on. I've got just a few more questions, getting through them, but the usual ones come through about cues and tips. So basically, what type of cues do you both use, and what sort of tips do you use as well? I'll start with you, Pat.
Good question. I've very recently changed in terms of tips. I've very recently changed because Gary Filtness lent me a tip to try called Century G3.
Right.
And I tried it, and I couldn't believe how long it lasted me. First one I used lasted me 18 months, and it got damp on a flight. I was coming home from the PMK Pro-Am in Glasgow, and it got damp on the flight, and I had to take it off, or it would have done me another year. And previously, my tips were only lasting me 6 months, so that's what I'm going to be using going forward. My cue, I've used the same cue for 28 years. A local cue maker. My hometown here is Dungannon, and Collisle, and Dennis Taylor's hometown, is about 4 miles away. And a local cue maker called Tommy Edwards made me my cue in '92, and I've been using it ever since. Sadly, Tommy died sort of late 90s, but I've used that cue now for 28 years. I think it might be starting to lose its life a little bit. What do you think, Barry?
Cool, 92. That's old, isn't it? That's really old. My cue is I've just got a machine splice cue, but it's probably comes dates from the late 80s. It's a Barracuda gold medal, but I've never been one for messing about with cues too much. But I might actually get a new one made because the wood's getting a bit old now. You know, there's it's not very. It's getting a bit old, the old wood a bit, I think. And but I've always used Elkmaster tips. Going on to tips, I've always used Elkmaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I did try some layered tips, but they kept getting big chunks coming out of them. So I miscued, and a big chunk came out of it. And I thought, well, I don't really want that happening in a match, so I just stuck with a good hard elk tip, and that's what I use. Elkmaster.
You like a hard tip, Barry? Do you?
Yeah, I just go for an elk. Try and find a hard elk tip. Yeah, I tried the layered tips, but they kept splitting on me, so I just stuck with the elks.
I'd love to be able to play with a soft tip, but I just can't. I can't play with side with a soft tip. Joe Swale uses a really, really soft tip, and I've seen him put on a new tip, put a red 2 foot from the black pocket and the white in the bulk line, and pop the red and screw back into bulk for a shot. And I can't even pull it in. It's like, I just don't understand how people use soft tips.
So what about the chalk, the new chalk, the Tom chalk? How do you get on with that? Do you use it or what?
No, I can't use a soft tip.
Yeah, I'm using the new chalk. I'm on to the second model of it now.
Do you want to go first, Pat?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant in terms of lack of kicks. Kicks are down to about, 2-3% of what they used to be. So I love it, and I'm going to stick with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I stuck with the normal chalk because I played a couple of players, and they had some bizarre miscues, and I thought, I've never seen a miscue like that before. And I looked at their chalk, and they were using a different kind of chalk. You know, I think it was Town actually, but I've seen miscues with Town chalk that I've never ever seen before previously. So I just thought, you know what, I think I'll stick with a triangle chalk. So you still get the odd kick, but if I play with someone who's playing with Town, they're still going to get kicks off my triangle chalk. And I think they've got more chance of miscuing. That's the way I see it. But some people say they get on great with Town. But I just saw too many funny miscues with it for my liking, and I just stuck with a triangle.
Yeah, understandable.
I just want to touch on something here about Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Do you think that the things that I keep asking professionals are, do they think there's too many professional snooker players on the tour? That's one question. The other thing is, do you not think that more amateurs should be given an opportunity to qualify for ranking events? And do you think there's too many professionals on the tour? Pat, start with you.
No, I think 128, or there may be a few more than 128 now because of some additional spots become available. I think around about 128 or whatever it is a reasonable number. Should amateurs be given more chance to qualify? I haven't really thought about that. In the home racings events, a couple of local amateurs get in. I don't think that has gone particularly well for the amateurs. I don't really think any of them have had any good runs or anything. So, based on those results, you would say, I don't know, maybe some youngsters be given opportunities to qualify to get experience. I know wee Robbie was given a spot in the Northern Ireland Open last year, and I'm sure that was good for him getting out into that arena to see what that was like. So, I would say maybe create opportunities to give juniors some experience, but no, I think the system as it is at the minute is pretty good and is working well.
Well, it's not working for about a third of the players on the tour. I mean, let's have a little look at the numbers very quickly. You've got 128 professionals on the tour. If you go right down to the bottom of that list, a third of those lads are barely making a living.
Yeah,
I mean, that tells me one thing. All that tells me is that they're struggling, with the format. Maybe that's one thing, but if a lot of the amateur lads who are trying to get on the tour, they wanted to test themselves, surely something like an amateur tour or an amateur qualifying tour to back it up and to bring them in, surely that would take the pressure off that. I mean, what are your views on that, Barry?
Well, no, I mean, I think they've got it just about right. I mean, I don't think you want to make the tour smaller. I think that would commercially, that's got to be madness. Surely we've got the game's getting bigger and bigger. The last thing you want to do is make the game smaller. I mean, make the tour smaller. That would be madness, in my opinion. I think that would be difficult to make it bigger. I think 128 is obviously a good number because of the way it pans out for draws and stuff. But as for the bottom, I mean, I'm in that bottom third of players. I mean, you could make an argument that maybe that they could pay out a little bit of money for first rounds, losing players. That would probably bump it up a little bit. But there's no entry fees nowadays. Players ain't got to find entry fees. So, there's lots of money knocking around in snooker now, like £15 million total prize money. The game's never been in better shape. So I don't think I mean, I've only won 3 matches this year. I think, and I've won 10,000 quid, but I haven't been good enough. And it's as simple as that. And if you can't win more than 3 or 4 matches, you shouldn't, you should perhaps be thinking about doing something else, especially if it keeps continuing. But, I think, it's never been a better time to try and be a professional snooker player. £15 million. I mean, when I was doing well, there was like £4 million total prize money. So I think they've got it about right. I think the as for amateurs playing in pro events, I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest with you. But I see that it's better to have. It's a good idea to have a top up list. So we don't want pros not playing in events and then having people getting buys. So I think that's good, and having the odd event where juniors get a chance. Yeah, that's a good idea as well, a decent idea. But I don't think you want amateur players flooding into pro events all the time. I think really they've got everything pretty much. As good as you can get it. I think if your point about that maybe the bottom players not earning enough money, you could say, well, maybe you could guarantee them 300 or 400 quid a tournament or something like that. That's an argument you could make, but I think I find it difficult to criticise Barry Hearn and the people who are running the game, because as far as I'm concerned, he saved the game. You know, the game was in such a bad way, and it wasn't being run very well, in my opinion. And Barry Hearn saved it from it was really bad shape. So I think the tour's good and everything's good. I mean, even the Challenge Tour, there's some good prize money in the Challenge Tour. I think the Challenge Tour should be open to more players.
Yep.
You know, definitely to more players. And if we could have maybe four pro cards for the Challenge Tour rather than 2, that would maybe be a bit. But I think the Challenge Tour, they're £50 to enter, and you win 125 quid if you win one match. You know, so from that perspective, that's not bad. You know, I think they've got the games in good shape.
Yep.
Effectively, the Challenge Tour is an amateur qualifier tour for the Pro Tour. So, talk of having an amateur qualifier tour.
Yeah,
it's basically already there. But as Barry says, maybe have a few more players given the opportunity to play on it.
Well, yeah, that's.
I think the problem with the Challenge Tour. Yeah, I think the problem with the Challenge Tour is that everybody, you know, doesn't. That it should be open to everyone. You know, at the moment you've got to run at Q School and you've got to finish in the top, whatever it is, top 60 in Q School to be guaranteed to get in it, and that's not encouraging players to enter it. But even if it was a free for all, I'm not sure they'd get 128 entries every time.
Yeah.
So you know, I don't know whether there's a demand for a huge amateur tour. You know, I'm not sure there's a demand for a massive amateur tour at the moment.
Spot on, right. Absolutely spot on there. I think Q School, I like Q School format. I know it's tough, but it's a lot better than Blackpool. You know, back in the old days, it's a lot better. I mean, a lot of those lads were just wasting their time.
Yeah, I think Q School comes in for a lot of criticism, but I don't think Q School's perfect, but I don't think there's a perfect solution. I think Q School's as good as it gets. You know, the overseas players have got a chance to come over and stay in England for 3, 4, 5 weeks and have a go. And you've got to accommodate. Snooker's becoming a global sport now, so they've got to be accommodated. It's not UK centric anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. So I think Q School is there's no alternative. Nobody's given me a good alternative to Q School. I think Q School does the job. You know, it is a little bit of a lottery. I think it could be improved slightly. Maybe you could possibly seed some players, but barring that, I think Q School's good.
You know, it's only when you have these types of chats. I mean, I feel like we're having a wee debate here about Q School, which is good because it's good for a lot of the kids out there listening to this too. But I think you hit it on the head there, Buzz. I think you're absolutely right in what you say. I think if they opened up the Challenge Tour for players to come in and pay an entry fee and play in it, I think you're right. Spot on there, and I don't think it would be overwhelming, Barry. I don't think it would be, because there's an appreciation there that is very tough.
No,
you know, it's as tough.
Yeah,
you know,
I think they get more entries, but I don't think that you get. You know, I don't think that'd be 120 entries like it used to be years ago in the amateur game. You know, I don't think there's that many people. You know, no.
I think that's a solution in the amateur game.
But unfortunately,
I think that's a solution.
You know, I was going to say, I think there was people who played in Q School last year, and I know they would have entered a lot of the Challenge Tour events, but because they didn't finish in the top, whatever it was, tops 80 or 64, then they're not even allowed to enter the events. I think that's just a point they could look at. But you know, part of that, I think they got things pretty good.
I don't know if it's a logistical thing. Can the venues where they're playing the Challenge Tour events accommodate bigger numbers? I don't know if that's a problem or if it's something that they can get by looking at, you know, alternative venues. But going back to what you were saying, Dave, about Blackpool, when I started in Blackpool, there were 700 pros. And I think in my first year, I didn't do it, obviously, by a long way, but I think I had to win something like 9 or 10 matches in a tournament to get that venue, which the system now is definitely better. It's fairer. There were an awful lot of guys playing in Blackpool who like spent an awful lot of money and a lot of time there, and ran up, got themselves in debt and stuff. So you just got to be careful about expanding it so much where it gets out of control. The other aspect of that was that was a huge detriment to the amateur game, because any half decent amateur was turning pro, and then the amateur game was really struggling to the extent that they allowed low ranked pros to play amateur events. Like, I was lucky enough to win an Northern Ireland Championship when I was a pro. It's an amateur championship because I was outside the top 64. I think Stuart Bingham won the World Amateur Championship when he was a pro because he was a low ranked pro. So it's a balancing act. You don't want to expand it so much that it does harm to the amateur game again, because the amateur game's strong again, and the pro game's in good shape. So, having been through all these different scenarios over the last 25 years or so, I agree with Barry. I think they've got the system, pretty much right at the minute.
No, it is. I think it's in a great place. Barry Hearn has, he's obviously pumped the money and the appeal into the game for a lot of the professionals. I think you're right, Barry, in what you said, that there should be something, maybe something for the professionals who are, maybe not getting past their first round matches financially. They could maybe take a little look at that in some ways. I mean, after all, these guys have played a lot of matches to get the turn professional, to get in.
I think it's not easy. It's not easy to get a tour card. So if you were getting 300-400 quid for losing every first round, I'm not saying that because I'm down the bottom end. I just don't think that a lot of players would think that was unfair, because it's not an easy thing to get a tour card. That's the thing. I mean, you got that young Riley Parsons, who was playing in the English junior tour last year. He got through Q School. Tremendous achievement to get through Q School. And he's struggling a bit on the tour this year. He's going to struggle. He's only about 18 years old, 19 years old. It's not easy for him. And I don't think he's barely won a game. And of course, he's not getting anything at all, which has got to be difficult. But I mean, I'm like I say, I'm loath to criticise the way things are being run because, like I say, Barry Hearn's saved the game for me. So that's just a tiny little thing that could be looked at, perhaps. But there we go.
Well, but Barry has saved snooker in terms of the transformation he's made since he came on board about 10 years ago to actually run the game, in terms of the increase in the number of tournaments and prize money. But Barry's attitude is it's very black and white. It's, I only want to reward winners, which is why there's no prize money paid for first round losers. But a counter argument to that
that's correct.
A counter argument to that is those guys that are losing a few first round matches and not getting any money are getting into financial diffs, right? So why not level the playing field and find out who the best players are by paying some money to first round losers, taking a little bit of pressure off those guys, allowing them to play and perform to the best of their ability, and then let's see who the best players really are. Do you understand what I mean?
Well, that's certainly that as well. But
Barry's attitude is he only wants to pay winners. He doesn't want to give anybody any money for turning up. But if these guys that were starting out, that young lad you mentioned, was getting a few quid just to cover his expenses and taking a little bit of pressure off, he might be allowed to perform and
he'd be under less pressure certainly.
So again, it's a judgment call. It's which approach you want to take.
Right, boys, just going to move on. We're going to wrap this up very shortly. We got Stuart Watson's just asking, do you think the Worlds are going to go ahead in late July? He's asking, is it possible? Well, it's a difficult question, that, Stuart.
I haven't a clue, because it's complete guesswork on everybody's part. But if they do go ahead, I'm sure it will obviously be without crowds, which is incredibly disappointing because, as you know, Barry and I have both been lucky enough to play at the Crucible, and the crowd make the atmosphere. The intimacy of that place with the crowd, as you're playing a black of the spot, you could nearly reach out and touch the crowd because they're that close to you. You know, it's a phenomenal place to play snooker, and it probably will be a little bit. It'll be very strange for the players to be playing there with no crowd. It'll be difficult for them. But listen, if we have a world championship without a crowd and we can watch it on telly, or no world championship, then I know I want to have a world championship with no crowd.
I think that's probably very possible, Pat.
Yeah.
What do you think, Buzz?
I was to put a percentage on it, I'd say it's got slightly more chance of taking place than not. That's the way I see it. I think by the time July gets here, things aren't going to be probably. I mean, I'm no expert, but I think things aren't going to be back to normal. That's for sure. But I'm sure, I'm fairly confident they'll be able to run qualifying behind closed doors and stuff like that. So I would say it's got a better than 50% chance of taking place. And I've got no inside information. That's just my thought on it. You know, if you were to ask me what percentage chance do I think it's got, I'd say around about a 50-50. But I don't. It won't be in. Like Pat said, it won't be in front of a full audience. No chance. And but like Pat said, it's better to have it on TV. And so everyone can watch it, than not have it at all. You know, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. I think it's realistic. I mean, the chances of pubs and restaurants opening in the next 2-3 months are extremely unlikely. So, in terms of events, professional events, football stadiums, crowded events, arenas, certainly not. Just not going to happen. You know.
Oh, not with a crowd. No chance. I don't think it's got no chance with any kind of crowd in there, or even but it might be that they get 100 people and they're all spaced out. I mean, I don't know, but I think it's got a good chance of taking place behind closed doors.
What about that? We can have a walk-in. We can have a walk-in antibody test. So if you walk in, you've
get tested. They might, yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see you there, Barry. Hopefully, we'll see you there.
Right, just before we go.
Yeah, it might be nice. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You can set another record after that record you set for your first and second appearances.
That microphone's playing up now. Stop fiddling around with things there.
Yeah.
Listen, just before we go, Pat, where are you at the moment with snooker? What are your plans over the next, when all this mess is over with? What are you going to be up? What are you going to be doing? Let us know what you're doing, because I know you've probably not going to go to Q school, but in terms of seniors and amateur, what's happening with you? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to continue to play seniors and amateur for as long as I feel like I can be competitive. I'm in the very fortunate position that I've already qualified for this year's Northern Ireland Open, assuming that Northern Ireland gets a wild card again, or 2 wild cards. So I'm really hoping that that's going to take place, whether it's behind closed doors or not, because I haven't done myself justice there the last couple of years. I'm going to continue to play on the seniors tour and continue to play in the Northern Ireland amateur racket tournaments, because I just love the game and I just want to keep playing for as long as I can.
Where are you currently ranked there, by the way, in the Northern Ireland ranking events? Where are you?
Number 1, with 1 tournament to go, the Northern Ireland Championship, which is obviously.
Still got it, mate. You've still got it.
That's why I'm in the Northern Ireland Open this year in November, if it takes place.
Listen, I'm going to get you in the over 50s, because I know you're over 50. You haven't played me yet, right? Yep. See, when you get me, let me tell you something, Paul. When you get me, you're in trouble, okay? Never mind about the other outlaw there.
There's golf as well.
Right, Barry, we'll finish off with you, mate. What are your plans? How do you see yourself? I know you haven't had a fantastic season, mate. I know that. But what sort of areas what are you doing improving your game and coaching and that? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm sort of still practicing hard, and I'm playing obviously, I'm lucky I've got a table in the back garden, so I've been playing quite a bit with Luke lately, and just keep. And I still enjoy playing. Like Pat said, if you enjoy playing and it's not, you're not busting a nut, then you got to keep going, I think, and so just keep playing, really. Yep.
Well, listen, keep coming down to the pro-arms. I know my lads are a wee bit too tough, Of course. Definitely. But you want to keep
giving him a 50.
And some of the boys, get wee Robbie over as well.
I'll have to get over for one day.
Come over. I might be able to put you up actually here in the house. You can come down, play a couple of matches. Show these boys how to do it. You know, the best has come out of the north of Ireland. The great Alex Higgins. You know.
Definitely, yeah.
And if you had a drink as early as Alex Higgins, you would have been a world champion.
Yeah, I did play him. I think, yeah. I did meet him. Yeah. Okay.
Right, that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us. All right. And just so that the other guys know, next week, I'm going to get you two are getting on my nerves, so I'm going to get ready to you so I can speak to the public. So, Barry, thanks very much. Take it easy.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Barry. Thanks.
Pat, I shall be in touch with you, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Be good. See you later. Right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Next week, great news. We have got Joe Perry and Michael Holt coming on, and we're going to have some questions and answers for them. And we're going to talk about their careers a little bit. You know, they've done quite well, those two lads. They're very tough players. They wouldn't be where they are in the rankings if they weren't. And I wouldn't invite them on the show if they were boring. So join us next week. It's probably going to be around about 7:30 next week, guys, because of certain things that are going on. But I'll put the event details and everything on there, and send questions in, please. Send them in, send them on Messenger, and then I can write them down and then just ask the questions as we go along. And that'll be great. So I hope you can join us all next week. I know these Q&As go on a wee bit, but the whole idea is to, you know, give you a little bit of background on some experienced players, some well-ranked players, and some amateurs, of, you know, players who can give you little bits and pieces of information that can put ideas into your head, and maybe where you are in the game and where you want to go. And you know, these guys have all played on the tour. Most of the guys that have come on here have been playing on the professional snooker tour for 20, 30 years. So you don't stay on there for a reason. And a lot of things that they say, very, very valued, because they have the experience and they have the knowledge, you know. So join us all next week. Thanks very much for joining us. And stay isolated and be safe.